Time for the weekly discussion. So this weekly discussion, I think, is very apropos as we are a new podcast, right? And so I think I think one of the big questions we have is how do we expand this hobby and this passion that we have, right? And I think I think gateway is the right term. Like there's gateway anime out there that really bring people in, right? So like in the 90s it was like DBZ and Sailor Moon and Pokemon. Then maybe in the 2000s it was Naruto and maybe the big 3 or something like that. So I wanted to talk to you today about what's a good beginner anime. And so let's just define it first. What would constitute as a good beginner's anime?
Well, for me, if you aren't much of a fan of watching anime, you're only watching one or two shows.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Let me preface this. Someone who's never seen it before, they might have heard of it, they might have caught something on TV, maybe they've seen some memes or something, but you're showing a friend, hey, let me get you into this stuff. It's really cool. Like a total newbie, someone who has not seen anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think definitely like it's got to hit you right from the beginning. Episode 1 at the bare minimum. You don't want it to be like, oh, it's gonna be a good episode. 3 or 4, or something like that. You really want to hook them right from the beginning. And then obviously you probably want it to make a little bit more shorter of a series, maybe 12 episodes or a movie or something like that.
Wait,
just
what? You're telling me you wouldn't recommend One Piece? What are you talking about here, Germs?
Yeah, just something like there's like 12 episodes, like they'll be done within they can run through it all in a night. Like
Yep.
Next time we see them, just right there. Like that's happened tons of times with me and other friends. Just like I show them one show, and then next night when I see them in class or whatever, they're like, "Yo, I just binged through the whole show." Because I feel like it's way easier to see like 12 episodes. Okay, I can binge that real quick. Or if they're already like a few episodes in, they're like, I'm already a few episodes in, might as well just finish it up, Or if it's just a movie, a movie's just an hour and a half, 2 hours at most, and you're just, bam, done. You can maybe go another movie or something like that.
Yeah, I think the movie, I'm glad that you bring up movies. I think that's a good, it's all about investment, right? You don't want to hit someone with One Piece and be like, yeah, so you got 1,000 episodes to watch, and if not, you got 1,000 chapters to read at this point. Like, you don't want to overwhelm someone. So I think a movie is good. 12 episodes, like you're saying, is good. I think also nothing too out. So for this fan that we're talking about, this friend, we're going to talk about like a Western audience, obviously, right? So because in Japan, it's not anime to them. Like it's just normal TV, like cartoon animation over there, right? So we're talking about over here in the West, someone who is used to maybe cartoons or maybe just live action stuff that they watch, HBO shows or whatever. So, I think we have to err on the side of mainstream as opposed to erring on the side of avant-garde or, something that might be difficult for them to explain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing too tropey, right?
No kill a kill.
Nothing too like nothing that it's like such a I want to say culture shock. Yeah, nothing too jarring, nothing that's like, whoa, what is this weird stuff I'm watching, right? Like something that will ease them into the hobby, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, it was super key. So like nothing like crazy like Kill a Kill or like a super moe show,
Exactly.
Some of those shows are really good, but to someone that's totally brand new, they'd be like, what?
Yeah, I think, because anime does have a stigma already, right? Like, some people think it's just hentai, some people think it's only for little kids. Like, I think this is just a personal thing. You might disagree with this, and my list might reflect this, but I think showing them a more mature side, like showing them that, hey, like these stories can also be really good, right? Like just because they're drawn and animated, like these shows can touch on some pretty deep topics, but still be entertaining and fun, and you know what I mean? Just like a normal show that you'd watch on TV, right?
Yeah.
So we are going to go over 5 of our personal recommendations for beginner anime, so anime that will get a total newbie into the hobby. So why don't you begin, Germs? What is your first recommendation for a new beginner of anime?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this first choice is a movie that I've shown tons and tons of people over and over again. Even totally non-anime fans, because I just
can I guess it? I think I can guess it. Can I guess it?
I think you can easily guess it.
Can I guess it?
Yep.
REDLINE?
Yep, that is my number one, the first recommendation here.
Got it.
Oh yeah, like I just super love Redline, even though I've seen it, ten plus times, and every time it kind of like brings me back. Every time the like the graphics are absolutely insane, just from the beginning all the way to the end. And like the beginning, totally is gonna. I can easily see if you don't like the beginning, then you're probably not gonna like the rest. And that's good to know. If you watch the first episode or something, like, okay, that's basically what's gonna happen here. They can go in, go out, like, okay, I like what's going on here, and here's more of it. And then that beginning race scene is just so beautifully animated, and you can see the 7 years of work on it they put. So
they put 7 years of work on that movie.
Yeah, in the movie, yeah, it's super.
Damn, I didn't know that.
I think it was one of the last hand drawn, non-digital movies to be done, because it's
Really?
just so much detail.
I didn't know that. Sick.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I would super recommend Redline. It's about racing and like space and all that kind of stuff like that. It has a little bit more of a mature story. Not nothing too crazy, but it's just a lot of not like super like wacky, but like in like the cool, like, oh yeah, we're going to go race on the moon, all this kind of stuff. And just the character designs and the characters are just, they work so well with one another, and the style that it has is just like, ooh, okay, that's cool. So yeah, I would super recommend Redline. I don't want to spoil too much about it since it's only a movie.
Yeah, we're gonna keep the spoiler free, but I think it has the action. It'll appeal to anyone who's into racing. It looks beautiful, right? I think visuals are important for this too. Honestly, I think that some people might think that visuals are overrated, but if we're trying to get someone into this medium, we want to show them that not only does this style of animation, in my opinion, is it better than Western cartoons. It's beautifully done. You know what I mean? Like over the top. You're gonna get great action, especially action scenes, right? Like I think showing them a beautiful movie is a fantastic choice on your part.
Yeah, and it's the adrenaline rush of a race, right to the you're all the way to the end,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would super recommend it. If you watch the first race scene and you're a big fan of it, just keep going. And if you're not, just go to one of the other recommendations here.
Yeah, and Western fans should be familiar with that storyline. Racing movies and stuff. So I think that's a great choice on your part. So, all right, let's get into my first recommendation here. So, since you went with the movie first, I'm going to go with mine first. Let me see if you can guess it, honestly. So, this one was huge. I think 5 years ago at this point. It blew up in our theaters. 5 years ago at this point. Maybe not exactly, but 5 years ago. It's I don't want to give anything away. You want to throw out some suggestions on your part?
If it's 5 years ago, that's probably when I was just started. Your Name. That's my
done. Pack it up. Pack the bags. You already solved it. So yeah, Your Name by Makoto Shinkai. It's a fantastic movie. Probably got to be the biggest anime movie as of recently, besides Demon Slayer Mugen Train, right? Mm-hmm. So if you like body switching, like Freaky Friday or whatever, you'll love this. If you want some romance, you'll love this. I think it's a beautiful movie, right? Like we talked about visuals being important. It's a compelling story. There's a scene in whatever you want to call it, maybe late second act, early third act, that's like, whoa, like kind of blows your mind. So, obviously I can't get into what it is, but it's like one of those wowing moments. You don't really know where the story is going to go. I think this one's probably best to go into not knowing much information, so I won't say much, but if you like romance and you want a gorgeous looking film, seriously, check out Your Name. Like, if you're not even an anime fan, like this is one that like 9 out of 10 people like this movie, right? Like 9 out of 10 people like this movie. 1 out of 10 people are too picky about it. Everyone really likes this movie, right? Like, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, like it's not the best movie of all time, but like
No.
we're just watching you. Like you'll leave the theaters and be like, oh, that was nice. Maybe there's some things you maybe didn't like, but like overall, you're like, oh, that was a good time. Personally, me and my friend when we watched it in theaters, after we finished the first time, we went to watch it straight again right after. That's the only time I've ever done that, and I was because because you learn so much in that third act or so that going back and watching it over again, you're like, oh.
Yes, it has rewatchability, and that's huge. That's huge. You feel satisfied. You concluded the movie, but you're like, I think I get it now, and you want to go back and rewatch it again. That's exactly how I felt after watching it the first time. I think I've maybe seen it 4 times now, and you're right. It's not the best movie. Like, we're not hitting you with the greatest, but I don't know if it'd make my top 5, but probably my top 10. I don't know, but I mean, it's up there. It's up there, right? It's a beautiful film. It keeps you on your toes story wise. The story is great. I think the story is great, and so yeah, I mean, this is as mainstream as it gets, and that's kind of how we want to keep the list to appeal to the modern fan who doesn't know that they're a fan yet. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and even if you have someone that's already seen it before, they'll probably be down to watch it again because it's a refresher and they'll see like, oh, I remember. Oh, okay, connecting all this kind of stuff as they're watching. So it's not only just for the new anime fans. If you have a friend that's into anime, you can bring them along with you. Just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, definitely one that non-anime fans can get behind. So let's get into your second choice here, Germs. What is your second recommendation for a beginner's anime?
Yeah, this recommendation is when I first started, this was the one I was recommended constantly over and over and over again. I think it might have come 2015 or 16 or so. But once I say the name, you'll definitely know what I'm talking about. But it's the one and the only One Punch Man.
Ah, that's a good one, dude. That's a good one. I was considering putting it on my list. That's a good one.
Yeah, when I first started, like everyone was just mumbling about One Punch Man, One Punch Man. It's so good, top tier, the action and all that stuff. Even like I still have friends these days that have only ever seen like One Punch Man or something else, and it's just so good. It's just like really like a textbook example to me what a beginner anime is like. There's just constant tons of hype and really cool scenes to look at. Saitama, obviously is the most super well written character. He's just a normal Joe, but like. So many of the fight scenes and the villains, you're just like, oh, it's the total trope character, and they do something a little special with it,
Yeah, they spice it up. They subvert your expectations with it, which is really cool. And yeah, I think it's great. There's one caveat though that I would say with One Punch Man, and this is the reason I didn't put it on the list, is because I don't want someone who's never seen anime before to watch this beautiful first season. It was on Netflix for the longest time. I'm sure it's still on Netflix, right? Beautiful fight scenes, character animations, all of it. It's done in the final episode, the final fight. Like seriously, one of the best fights ever. And it's in One Punch Man isn't really huge on action. I mean, it's an action show, but it's more of a comedy, honestly. So to see that caliber of fight was awesome. But there's just one caveat, man. I don't want a beginner to see this first season and be like, that was really good. I'm going to go to season 2. And then they go to season 2 and they watch it and they're like, is this like a YouTube spoof? Like, is this the right season? Because it looks nothing like the first season. The pacing is horrendous. All of the good stuff you got with Saitama, gone. Saitama is barely there. He's in a tournament and they just skip lots of it. It's just so bad. It's so bad. And it's mind-boggling to me that people love the second season. But, I think the first season is fantastic. And I think if you're only talking about the first season here, I think that's a great choice on your part.
Yeah, I would say, if you're watching this, watch the first season, and know that the second season isn't up to the quality that we would recommend. But that first season, just watch the first season, imagine that was it, and then then go to our next recommendation. Maybe go to the second season after you've seen some other ones. You're like, oh, that's why they didn't recommend it. Oh, okay.
That's exactly how I feel with SAO. Treat the first season as a first season, and then leave the rest behind. But it's good. It's great. Well, another point you said that I want to touch on: people that are not anime fans will be like, "Oh yeah, I've seen One Punch Man." Like it's that big of a show. It's that mainstream. So I think it's a fantastic choice on your part.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get into my second choice here. And again, I'm gonna kind of mimic you, copy off you a little bit. This one is super mainstream. This came out in 2019. A lot of people's 2019 anime of the year. You want to guess it? I mean, we've been guessing so far. You want to guess it?
2019.
2019, I believe. Let me double check that. I'm like 1,000% sure it came out in 2019. It's huge. It's I don't want to say anymore because anymore and you'll automatically know what it is. But let me just say this: it's a show and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
I can't really think of what really came out in 2019, so I'm kind of blowing a blank on that one.
Oh, okay. Then I'll just give it to you.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. But it's along the same lines of One Punch Man. It's Demon Slayer. And let me tell you why I think Demon Slayer is a good beginner anime, right? So let me double check the episode count here. I really should have had all this up, but I believe it's 26 or 24. It's 2 cores. It's 26. That's what I thought. So Demon Slayer is a great beginner anime. And let me tell you why. For the modern, if we want to capture that shonen audience, right? Maybe someone that watched DBZ, but like, you know, they didn't really know it was anime, or like they like the fights that they saw with DBZ on YouTube, but they don't know much about the medium. I think Demon Slayer is a perfect gateway because it's gonna give you that action fix, and it looks so beautiful, that ufotable animation. But there's a caveat with this one, and that's, you know, it's only 26 episodes for now. We have a movie coming out, and eventually we're going to get a second season, right? So pretty soon it's going to start stacking up in episodes. But for right now, the purposes of right now, if you want to get into anime, I would highly recommend Demon Slayer, especially because the movie is huge, right? Everyone's talking about the movie. So if you can watch this first season and really dig it, bam, you got a movie, and the movie is what, you know, the anime sphere, the weeb sphere is really, you know, gushing over right now. So I think it's a perfect capture of those who want action, you know, just like One Punch Man, but those who want like a shonen story. Bam, here's like one of the biggest right now, one of the highest selling manga, and it's only at 26 right now. That's going to change, but it's right now we only got a season of it. So what do you think of this choice?
Well, this is one of my later choices here, so we're just gonna jump into mine as well.
Yeah.
It's just too good to not put on.
I knew this would happen.
Yeah.
So explain why you picked it as well.
Yeah, for me, like again, to the visuals just outstanding from beginning to end. Right from the beginning, you're like, oh, that's nice, and then like every few episodes, you're like, oh, that was nice. And then the music as well is fantastic as well. You're gonna be working out like us to that music. And then also, with that caveat of there's gonna be a lot more episodes in the future, but luckily this is, there was no filler at all to our knowledge. And, it's a trusted studio that we can really rely on to give us the quality goods consistently. So hopefully, because the manga's already over, so there's a set amount of episodes, and I feel like all of them are just going to be top quality from beginning to end of the whole franchise. So, if you get started now, I don't think anyone's got to really worry about, the movie or the second season, dipping in quality in any kind of way.
Yeah, especially if it stays in Ufotable's hands, right? Like if Ufotable keeps this one and doesn't pump out any filler, which they won't, right? Like as long as they hold on to this IP, I think it'll be a great ride the entire way through. So.
Yeah, and it's also a great jumping off point for like a bunch of other shonens. If you like Demon Slayer, it's like, oh, it's a more basic kind of standard kind of shonen, but like it's so top quality and the execution of it that you'd be like, okay, the shonen stuff is kind of good. Maybe I'll go into a Naruto if I got more time, or maybe go into like Jujutsu Kaisen or something like that. Some other more recent shonens, like maybe like Shaman King, but just starting out from right here is just, you're gonna have a great ride from getting in, no questions asked.
Yeah, I think that's another great point that you bring up. It's a very basic shonen, and that's not a knock on it, but it's a very simplistic story. I don't want to say simple characters, but it's it's very bare bones, but it's great in its delivery, right? So like the delivery is why we like it, but yeah, it's very basic, right? So we're not hitting someone with a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood or something, right? Where it's a convoluted story and like it like is intriguing, which is great. You want that, but again, just
Keep it more simple.
very simple. We're keeping it very simple here. You know what I mean? All right, so let's get into my third personal recommendation. I'm going to go with an interesting one here, right? This one's going to be a little left field. So let's just get into it. I'm going to recommend Death Note. Now, that seems so weird for a beginner anime, right? Like, why on earth would you recommend Death Note? So let me explain why I would recommend Death Note. At 37 episodes, it's not a commitment, which is what we want. It has a very engaging story. Lots of people say the second half is not as good as the first, but the first is amazing in my opinion. Death Note's I'm biased. It's one of my all-time favorites, right? But why I'm recommending this one is it captures the mature side of anime, right? So if you're hanging out with someone and they say, this stuff looks like it's for kids, I don't know, like, you know, isn't that for, you know, why haven't you grown up or, you know, gotten past this stuff yet? Show them Death Note. They will have a completely different opinion on anime. And lots of, you know, very much like the One Punch Man effect, people that do not watch anime have seen Death Note. People that don't watch anime have seen One Punch Man. So even though it's extremely dark, it has mainstream appeal, right? And it is one of the most popular anime out there on MAL. I think it's
number one.
It's number one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was definitely in the top 5. So number one, most popular on MAL. MAL's not everything, right? We're trying to appeal to a more mainstream audience, people that don't even know what MAL is. And it is dark, it's gritty, it's not for everyone. But I think that this shows the mature side of anime, and I think that's what we want. And it's not that much of a commitment at 37 episodes. So a little bit of a controversial pick on my part, but what do you think of that one, Germs?
Well, it's good choice because that was one of my first ones. That was the first one. Obviously, that's the first one he recommended to me. Even back in the good old day, James was still recommending this as the first one. You know, it really gripped me from the beginning, and I just watched it like all the way through in like a day or two, and James was amazed.
Yeah, we will definitely tell that story at some point, but that's what I think. It's a bingeable show. I think people will really like that. It's an engaging story. It's dark, it's mature. It's not for everyone, but at 37 episodes, it's not much of a commitment. And people that don't watch anime have seen Death Note. That's how big Death Note is. So
yeah, and there's tons of twists that get you in there.
Mm-hmm. And it's a classic. It's a total classic in my opinion. So if you start off with this one and you want a mature story, bam, you already have a classic under your belt, right? You already have a benchmark set for like what makes a great anime and what makes a great engaging story for this this medium of entertainment. So yeah, let's get on to your fourth pick here, Jerms.
Yeah, so mine's like almost on the opposite end of the spectrum here in terms of seriousness, but this is a weird one, and I try to show this to you when we first started, and you haven't seen it yet, I'd imagine. But I'm throwing Konosuba here in my belt for a comedy here.
Hold on. When did you try to get me to watch Konosuba? When?
I swore like years ago when we first started watching.
Did I watch an episode of it?
I think it was an episode and you were like, this isn't for me.
I think you're thinking of School Live, dude. I have not seen anything at Konosuba. Was it School Live you're thinking of, or you think it's Konosuba? I
think Konosuba. I remember. Oh, I'll just get into it. I think as a comedy, you know, if you're looking to get like, oh, you're watching more comedic kind of type. You're not looking for that more serious, deep, you know, actiony kind of thing. You're like, oh, I just want to have a fun little ride here. I think Konosuba is a great beginning, especially if you're more interested in comedy, and the characters are just hilarious, and there's also a movie in there, but I think as a comedy, it's just super enjoyable. You know, if you see the first episode, you really know, if you're gonna like the series, and I think that's a good thing to have for a beginner show. Is like, watch one episode, oh, you're not into it, okay, we got something else for you. But I think that for a comedy, I think this is a great beginning.
So let me ask this: are the seasons one core? 12 episodes, 10 to 12 ish?
Yeah, 10 to 12. I think the second one's 10 episodes. But
What's the first season? Is the first season
12?
1 or 2? Okay, 12. And then what's the third season going to be? Do we know?
There's no third season,
Probably,
unfortunately.
Oh, but hasn't it been announced? I thought it was announced. No. Okay. Is it in the air though? I mean, that's my question. Is it in the air that there might be a third season, or it's done?
I wish it was in the air, but maybe it'll come in like some other series that get another season. But currently, there's no plans or anything. I'd just
because that would be my only concern is if they keep continuing the story, because I assume there's more either manga or light novel content that they haven't gotten to yet. But yeah, if you certainly have a friend who doesn't know anything about anime and they want to see something comedic, kind of like One Punch Man, but less actiony, I think, Konosuba is probably a great choice, yeah.
And the waifus for days, so, if they see, like, oh, okay, so they'll start picking some waifus, their first waifus.
Yeah, we'll be introducing them into degeneracy right off the bat, so that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I want to throw this one in here just because, I'm the spicy man, so I wanted to throw at least a little something in there. Is
this another pick, or what are you throwing in here?
No, Konosuba. That's my.
Oh, okay.
That's why I personally picked it. Just like how you picked Death Note because you like more serious. I picked Konosuba. It's a little bit more fun and waifus
on the lighthearted
stuff, like,
side.
the stuff I'm looking for.
Yeah, and that a lot of people will be looking for. Who doesn't like that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me get into my fourth pick then. I'm going to go classic on you, and I'm going to go old on you. Actually, take a guess on this one. I bet you can guess this one. Older and classic. Come on. You know this one.
Oh, I know what it is. If this isn't it, then I don't know you. But I'm going to say Cowboy Bebop.
Done. Consider it done. Okay, so I should do a video essay on this. I should go. I should be like all these other anti-tubers and make a video essay on why this series is brilliant. And why it's the best to ever be animated, honestly. So, Bebop, it came out in 98, long time ago, right? It's only 26 episodes. And despite it coming out in 98, it looks better than, I would say, a majority of anime today, honestly. And that's not just style. That is how well it's animated in some part. I mean, I'm not going to say it's beautiful all the way through and a complete masterpiece, right? In terms of animation quality, because it did come out in 98. But damn, for something that came out in 98, it totally holds up today, in my opinion. And I'm sure that you might agree with that as well. I think this appeals to someone who wants adventure and action and a good cast. I mean, a fantastic cast of characters. It's also episodic, right? So if you take someone who's used to watching regular TV, right, and HBO shows, all these episodic shows, right, with Bebop, you can take a huge break if you want. You can binge it. You can say, I'm not liking this episode, I'm going to skip it. Now, I don't recommend that, but again, unless there's something really big happening in that episode, it's episodic, right? So they're all individual of each other. There is an overarching plot, which makes it the masterpiece it is, but that's only sprinkled in sometimes, honestly. Like, there are episodes you can totally skip and the story continues, right? Because it's a one-off. And I think that really eases someone into anime. And again, we're not hitting them with anything too hard, right? This is a little bit opposite of Death Note, right? Death Note's a very engaging story, but I feel like Death Note hooks you from the beginning, so that's why I would recommend it. This one, as long as you like the cast of characters and as long as you like the action and the adventure that they're going on, I think that this one will be. I just think it's an easy transition into anime. What do you think about this one, Germs?
Yeah, I would agree. The episodic nature really helps to easing someone in. Like, oh, you can stop at this episode once because they are a little bit more dense. So, like, I remember when I was watching, I'd watch like 8 episodes, and I'm like, woo, and take a little break here. It's like watching like 8 like little movies, in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, it's extremely episodic, right? So like every episode has its own storyline. It usually concludes. The names are fantastic because it'll say part 2 or something, right? So that it's a 2-parter, right? Going into it, like if you watch an episode and it says part 1 at the beginning, and you don't have time or you're not feeling it, okay, to skip that one and the one ahead of it. If you're really digging it and you want to see it conclude, that the next episode's going to be the conclusion, right? Because it's a 2-parter, right? So Yeah, man, Bebop. I think Bebop is just I think it's fantastic. And another thing too is if someone is wary about subs, right? Like, I have to read text at the bottom of
Oh,
the screen. I'm used to watching just listening to their voices. What's this Japanese stuff? Watch it dubbed, dude. I watch it dubbed over sub. Never watch Bebop sub. If you watch Bebop sub, I'm gonna slap you. Don't hang around me. Bebop dub it's either that or nothing. Don't watch it at all,
no.
honestly. It has arguably top 5. I'm not going to say number 1, but arguably the best dub out there. Period. Period. And this came out in 98. There's also a movie. It's just like a one-off episode that's, an hour and a half long or however it is. That's also great if you like the show.
Mhm.
I think Ein is funny. I think Spike Spiegel is a badass. He has that Bruce Lee vibe to him. So if you like Bruce Lee, you'll love Spike. Faye is great. The typical hot chick outlaw who kind of uses her looks to get what she wants and, likes to steal and get in trouble. And Jet is the older, war veteran who's kind of seen it all, ex police, retired, It's just it's the perfect story. It really is. There's going to be some episodes that are more hyped than others, right? There's some weird ones out there, but this does not feel region locked. Doesn't feel like this is not really a Japanese story. You know what I mean? If someone's wary of it being foreign to them, show them this because it takes place on multiple planets and going back and forth across the galaxy, and it's set in the future, so you'll see Earth with different cultures, but it's kind of a barren wasteland, and it's just great. I think the setting also really helps it, but yeah, if you have someone who's wary of subs, you show them Bebop because you absolutely watch Bebop dubbed, and the dub is perfect. So,
Yeah, good stuff. Good recognition here.
Good stuff. So, what is your 5th and final choice for a beginner's anime? An anime to get a beginner into this medium that we love so much.
Well, I think you can easily guess this one because it's got 2 aspects from Bebop that you totally love right in here. So, one, there only is a dub for this show, and 2, the art style and everything just feels more natural, a natural progression into anime. So, what do you think this is? There's only a dub for this.
Well, there's a sub, but the dub is way better, right? Don't even consider the sub. And is it episodic?
There's no, but it's got that. It's the style and the designs are
okay.
Feel more.
When I say episodic, I mean like there might be a 4-parter, but it's a one contained story, and then they continue with the story after that. No.
What do you think is one of the best dubs?
Well, I'm going to say Black Lagoon, but Black Lagoon is a little episodic. That's it.
So it's not episodic. It's quick and easy.
Quick and easy, huh? One of the best dubs out there.
Once I say you're instantly want to shoot yourself in the foot there.
I'm already trying to shoot myself in the foot. What is it?
It's the one and only Afro Samurai.
Okay. The dub is good. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Okay. I'm not pissed. Okay.
Yeah, I looked into it. There only is a dub. There's no...
there literally only is a dub. I thought you meant okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, because I checked into the history of it, and there's only a dub, and in Japanese, it was just subtitled over there.
Wow. Okay. I wouldn't have guessed this. So, I love Afro Samurai. So tell the people about it, Germs. Why is this a good beginner anime?
Oh, it's fantastic because it hit the visuals and the music is top tier. But it's 5 episodes. There's a sequel kind of ish movie alongside of it.
Yep.
But just the badassness and the sick style of Afro Samurai. Once you see Afro Samurai, then no other show really looks like it. Unfortunately, it's the only thing that makes it a little hard to recommend because it's after you finish Afro Samurai, there isn't something that looks exactly like it, But the absolute badass and sick music from RZA. The absolute fantastic dub from Samuel L. Jackson. it's just it's such a great time
So
and a great
good.
watch. It's a little bit gory, this thing could be rainbows and sunshines. Unfortunately, there's a lot of cutting people in half and all that kind of stuff. But like, it doesn't really focus on that. It's more just just trying to survive. Be number one, and just a really overall sick series that I would super recommend to anyone. Especially since it's only 5 episodes and a movie. It's just a really fun watch, and you'd be jamming out to the music after it.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I would say if anyone has seen or likes Samurai Jack, have you seen Samurai Jack or even know what the hell it is?
I know about it, but no.
If you have a friend who liked Samurai Jack growing up, show them Afro Samurai. Like they will love it. It's like a glorified Samurai Jack with a bunch of cutting people in half, and it's bloody and gory and if you got a Samuel L. Jackson friend, come on, you got to show him Afro Samurai, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a little on the gory side, but it's only 5 episodes, which makes it like a good sweet spot. So if you have someone who really wants like that in your face action and it has that samurai aspect to it, right? Right, like that Japanese aspect. Yeah, I would say that's a good choice on your behalf.
Yeah, and the sick music by RZA is as well.
Legendary, absolutely legendary. That's why I think Afro Samurai is a little bit of a classic, isn't it? I mean, not a lot of people talk about it, but man, like all the stars aligned for that, right? Only 5 episodes, which is good, straight to the point. Samuel L. Jackson, the dub is fantastic. The RZA, it's animated great, so good, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get into my 5th and final recommendation for a beginner getting into anime. So this is a little bit of a cheat on my behalf. So, the rules were a show or a movie, right? But I'm going to go with a studio, and more specifically a director. You already know where I'm going with this. You want to just say it? You already know where I'm going with this. Like the most basic answer ever. Yeah, Miyazaki, right? So anything Studio Ghibli is fantastic. But specifically anything Hayao Miyazaki is the best of the Ghibli stuff. So I've seen every Hayao Miyazaki film he's directed. He's directed 11, right? So I've seen them all. The last 2 that he's done, I was personally not the biggest fan of, right? So we had The Wind Rises, which I thought was very... I would not show that to someone getting into anime, right? It's a little bit of a more mature story. And then we had Ponyo. I thought Ponyo was like garbage. I thought it was fucking trash, dude. I think Ponyo is the only bad movie that man has ever created. I genuinely hate that. But other than those 2, I think his entire movie slate is fantastic. Now, the older you go, the more jarring the animation might be, I guess. But I think the sweet spot would be My Neighbor Totoro, Spirited Away, and Howl's Moving Castle. I think that those are 3 fantastic films to show someone, especially if they're a fan of Disney, right? Like, if you got someone who likes Disney, but they don't know much about anime or even care about anime, show them one of those 3. They'll fall in love with it, right? And even, it's like a Disney film, right? Like, they call him the Disney over there in Japan. They're meant, I don't know if they're meant for all ages, right? But kids can enjoy them. Those who are older can enjoy them. They're just good, timeless stories. I'm not, of those 3, I would say I'm more of a fan of Spirited Away and Totoro, but Howl's is a fantastic choice too, right? So what do you think of this, Germs? What do you think of that? I'm cheating a little bit, but I had to do this.
Yeah, especially even the normal theaters. Well, I remember back in before the theaters were all closed, but they had like a monthly, just like, oh yeah, here's a few movies from Miyazaki and all that. I'm like, oh, I'll see My Neighbor Totoro. Oh, I'll see Kiki's Delivery Service. Oh, okay. It's all just even as an adult, it's like, oh, this is it's a nice little watch. Especially if you haven't seen it before. It's like, okay, so this is what they were watching back then, and it's not like they like treat you like a child if you're watching it. It's like, oh, it just, it just happens. It just, things happen, you see what goes on. So I think it's ageless.
Timeless, yeah, for sure. And I think the older you go, I think you'll find some hidden gems, right? Like I love Castle in the Sky. And I think Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind is like one of my favorite anime films of all time, right? And so you watch that, something like that, which came out in the 80s, and you kind of get a little bit of anime history, but alongside a fantastic story and just just fun movies, right? Just fun, wholesome movies. I cannot vouch for the dub on all of these. Some of them I watch dub, but I think most of them I probably watch sub. So that's kind of up to your discretion if you can stand the dub or not.
Mhm.
But I think that they're great, wholesome movies, good family fun. So yeah, that'll be my fifth choice. Let's recount them real quick, Germs. Take it from the top. Give me your five, your list of five. I'll give them my list of five, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so my first one was Redline, and then One Punch Man, and then Konosuba, then Demon Slayer, then Afro Samurai.
Yep, and my five beginner anime was Your Name, Demon Slayer, Death Note, Cowboy Bebop, and anything Studio Ghibli, specifically Hayao Miyazaki. Three that I would personally recommend are My Neighbor Totoro, Spirited Away, or Howl's. But again, this last section I have is kind of up to your discretion. But anything Ghibli, specifically the Miyazaki stuff.